All right, so last video we learned how to make responsive columns. So columns that are different width and change width based on the screen size. In this video, I'm going to cover a couple more, slightly more advanced grid options. And really I'm just going to cover two things in this video. I'm going to cover how do you align your columns horizontally on the screen, okay? And then the second one is how do we hide things and how do we show things at different screen sizes. All right, so let's get into it. So I have a column here that takes up 6 grid units. And again, I have a 12 unit grid, so 6 is half of that. So this is 50%. And a lot of times we don't want our text column to take up the entire width of the screen. So what we would probably want to do is center our text column going down the page. So Bootstrap makes this really easy. If you look in the grid documentation, I'm down under alignment and I'm at horizontal alignment. So going from left to right, my alignment. And part of what I want you doing right now is just getting used to using the Bootstrap documentation because there's so much in here that you can get into and we're not going to be able to cover. But let's say I say, okay, horizontal alignment, and this looks like what I want to do. I want my columns to be centered in my row horizontally. So in the Bootstrap documentation, immediately below my demo or my example, I'm going to get the code for that example. And I'm going to just kind of read it and see, okay, this one, justify content start. Okay, that makes sense to me. These two columns are justified to the start. So row, justify content center, that looks like this. These are centered. And I'm kind of reading here, I'm thinking, okay, so all I have to do is take my row and add the class justify content center. So I'm literally just going to copy that over into my HTML code. And yeah, now my content is centered this way. All right, when we get down to mobile, it takes up 100%, so that's fine. But here, this is a nicer text column for me. All right, the second thing I want to cover here is Bootstrap makes it really easy for us to change things at different sizes. So this means we can be a lot more creative with our content. And let's say maybe I'm thinking, you know, if they're on a desktop, let's give them a really long paragraph here. And if they're on mobile, maybe I just want to cut that out and put a shorter sentence here. Other times you might use this, maybe on mobile, instead of a grid of images, you just want them to see one image. That would be absolutely fine. That enhances their experience, right? Maybe on mobile you want to hide a lot of the stuff that's going to take a lot of time to download. So what we're going to do is for this paragraph, we're going to make it display on screens that are big, medium, and up, and not display on screens that are smaller. So what I'm going to do is set a class on this, and I'm going to set my default. So d-none means that for all screen sizes, do not display this paragraph. And we look over here, the paragraph is gone, okay? Now, just like with our grid, our columns, we can say d-md-block, okay? D stands for display, so display on medium and up, block. And block means show, more or less. So if we come here, I'm on medium and up, and I'm going to see it. And once I get to small, that's going to disappear, okay? So again, our pattern is what is the default? And then once we get to a screen size and bigger, what do we change it to? So for this paragraph, what I want to do is set the default, and then once we get to a bigger size, I want to change it. So my default here is going to be block, and then when I get to medium, I'm going to change it to none, and none means don't display. So we are on a big screen, we get our long paragraph, and as we go down, we hit this. So one more time, the pattern is set a default for your display, and display is basically on or off. On is block and none is off. So my default for this paragraph is none, and then once I get to medium and larger, switch to block. Here, my default is block, so my default is show, and then once I get to medium and larger, I switch to none, okay? So, again, how to center content this way, how to hide content, just giving you more design options for you to go and play with now.